Hey guys, this is going to be my quick overview on Google Forms. The first thing I usually do is put in my title. So we're going to call this a fractions quiz. The reason I do that is because right after that, I'll click up here where it says untitled form in the top left corner, and it'll automatically change it to what my title is. It just helps me keep my drive organized. The next thing we're going to do, and probably the most important, is we're going to click this cog. It's the little thing next to the send button. When you click it, it's going to bring up all your settings. The first thing you're going to want to do is collect all email addresses. That way, when students take the quiz, you'll be able to see whose is whose. Uh, Response receipts is up to you. The next thing says requires sign in. If you're giving a quiz to your students, they all have Horry County Schools devices, so I would leave it checked. If you're sending something home to parents to fill out for information, I would uncheck it. The next one says limit to one response. Generally, you're going to click that for any type of assessment, but if you want kids to turn in multiple of something, you can leave that unchecked. Down here, it says respondents can. The first one is edit after submit. Generally, I leave that unchecked. If you're doing test corrections and you want kids to be able to change their form, you can always go back to the settings after they've taken the quiz or test and click edit after submit so they can go back in and make changes. But generally, I leave that unchecked. Summary charts and text responses, I usually leave unchecked as well. Next, we're going to go to presentation. There's nothing really important here. You can show the progress bar. You can shuffle the question order if you like. Usually, I leave that stuff alone. Finally, we get to quizzes. The only way to get a grade out of this is if you check this to make it a quiz. Then it'll open up all these options down here. We don't have Chromebooks, so I wouldn't worry about this. Release grade. If it's a multiple choice quiz or a test, you can leave that checked for immediately after submission. That just means the kid will get the grade right away. If you want to look at it first, or if you have open response questions that you need to grade, I would click later after manual review. Otherwise, if there's open response questions and it pushes a grade back to kids, they're not going to get credit for those questions. So they're never going to get a full score. It's only going to be on the questions that they were able to be graded on. Next, it says respondents can see, and this is going to be a preference thing after they're done. I usually leave on missed questions, but if it's something they're going to do corrections on, I'll uncheck correct answers. If you leave it on after they finish, it's going to show them the right answer to everything. And if it's a quiz that they can't do corrections on, you can leave that checked. That's perfectly appropriate. But anything they're going to do corrections on, I would uncheck. And then the last thing is point values. I usually leave it on so they know how much each question was worth. But if there's an instance where you don't want them to know for some reason, you can uncheck that. We're going to go ahead and save. Now we can make our quiz. The first one, we're just going to put in a question. So we'll just say 2 plus 2 equals, and we're going to make this multiple choice. There's a bunch of options here. We're going to stick to the main ones that we're going to use. And that first one is going to be multiple choice. So we'll put in some answers. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, now that I've put in my choices, I do have to select a correct answer. So I'm going to go to answer key. And I know 2 plus 2 is 4, so I'm going to check question 4. And you have to assign how many points it is. We're going to do a 4-question quiz. So I generally like to make all my points add up to 100. So I'm going to put in 25 points for my first question. If you're having trouble keeping track of how many points you've used, just take a look at the top right corner. It's going to tell you your total points. All right, now I'm going to click done. And down here it says required. If you don't click required, kids can skip that question and they're going to get marked wrong. So I would leave required on to make sure that they answer every question. When they go to submit, if they missed one, it'll tell them to go back. All right, so we're going to do our next type of question. We're going to say 2 plus 2 again. But this is going to be an open response. So I'm just going to change this to short answer because I want kids to give me an answer and I don't want to give them choices. So we left required on. Let's go to our answer key. And I know the correct answer is 4. Okay. They shouldn't be typing in anything else. So I'm going to click mark all answers incorrect. If a kid types 4.0 or 4 with a space, it's going to mark it wrong, but we can always go back after the kids complete the test and mark it right for them. Again, this is a 4-question quiz, so I'm going to make each one 25 points. And you'll see in my top right corner, we're up to 50 total points. All right, done. And we're going to add another question. Again, I did that by clicking this plus sign over here. There's a few options you could play with, but we're going to stick to the basics today. All right, we're going to add another question. How did you solve 2 plus 2? Okay, now Google automatically made this a paragraph because they know that the students are going to have to type in multiple words. The tricky thing for this is for my answer key, there isn't really an exact answer. So this is going to be one that after the kids are done, I'm going to have to go back and read their responses. There's an easy way to do that, but we'll talk about that another time. Again, this is a 4-question quiz, so 25 points, and we are up to 75 at the top. We're going to add one last question just for fun. Did you have fun? We're going to leave this multiple choice. There are 2 options. There is yes and there is no. We're going to require this one. The correct answer is yes. If you did not have fun, then you should not be here. We're going to make this one also worth 25 points, and you'll see it's worth 100 total points in the corner, and we are done. When I go to send this out to students, I'm going to click send, okay? And there's a link here. You can shorten it if you want. It doesn't matter. I'm going to copy that link, and that's the link I'm going to send to students. There's also a way to automatically have it up in Google Classroom and import grades, but we'll talk about that separately. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you find it helpful. If you have any questions, leave a comment. Thanks.